Welcome to the magical world of art. I'm Seska, your storyteller for today. Do you want to know the story behind Santos Botticelli's painting The Birth of Venus? Let's go back in time. In the year 1484 to 1486, during the early Renaissance period, a masterpiece was created that uses the medium tempera on canvas and has a dimension of 1.72 by 2.78 meters. It was located in Uffizi Gallery in Florence, Italy, today. So before we go in detail about the painting, let's discuss who is the painter. Who is Santo Botticelli? Botticelli worked as a goldsmith and apprentice of Fra Filippo Lippi in his early years. So he was commissioned by wealthy families, specifically the Medici family. That's why some research believe that The Birth of Venus was commissioned by one of the members, which is Lorenzo de Francisco de Medici. He mostly paints religious and mythological subject matter which are evident in his famous works. Let's look at the painting of Botticelli, specifically The Birth of Venus. The themes that we can observe are human figure, specifically odalisque, presented by Venus itself in her nudity. Next is the seascapes and landscapes behind Venus, the seaport shore, and the grassland. Lastly is the myths and legends. Venus is part of the Roman mythology. Look on the analysis of the subject matter presented in the painting. So 4 figures were observed in it. Central position, standing on a large scallop shell, covering her breasts and genitals with her hand, is the nude figure of Venus. Her body posture is like a contrapposto stance wherein the figure stands with one leg, holding its full weight while the other one is relaxed. This pose gives a slight S-curve to the entire torso. Venus is the goddess of beauty and love. She is the embodiment of beauty with her perfect skin and blonde hair. In the left position are 2 figures blowing air towards Venus. These figures are Zephyr and Chloris. Both are associated with the spring season and they personify the wind and breeze. On the right side is a female figure holding a florally decorated cloak waiting to meet Venus and cover her. She is identified as the Hora of spring. The patterns and flowers on her dress give it out. After analyzing the subject matter of the painting, let's go over to the art elements presented in it. So in terms of colors and light, it is noticeable the usage of earthy colors, the green, brown, and so on. Those tones complement each other. An example is the red drapery held by Hora on the right complements the green and blue drapery worn by Zephyr and Chloris on the left. In the color wheel, these 2 colors complement each other. They are on opposite sides of each other. The surrounding landscapes is also rich in color tones. It was observed in the light blue color of the ocean and sky, which are cooler colors, and the shades of green and brown from land, which are, on the other hand, are warmer colors. We can also see the transition from left to right part of the painting, which is lighter to darker color. These add depth and chromatic balance to the composition. In terms of perspective and line, it follows the golden ratio that captures balance and pleasing proportional values of the work. The white chevron-like shapes on the ocean also gives a sense of depth and movement, for it suggests the idea of waves. It creates dynamism in the painting. In proportions, Venus' body is quite elongated, specifically her neck and the depiction of her left arm. Her stance is also unrealistic because of leaning too far to the right without any support. If we look at it realistically, she will fall down. These 2, elongations and inaccurate proportion and stance, heightens Venus' beauty as an otherworldly figure that has just been given life. As Venus emerged from the shell, it embodies the rebirth of civilization, a new hope, geopolitical, social, and cultural shift after the Middle Age turmoil. It also shows a new beginning from the changes and chaos that happened in the past. Also, Venus' physical beauty portrayed will be a reminder of the ideas of divine love, that involves both the physical and spiritual love. Her nakedness utterly changed the way we perceive the female body in terms of glorifying its divine beauty as well as sensuality and subtlety. She also shows the purity and innocence from those sinful eyes of the people. Also, when I first saw the painting, I think that it gives confidence to a woman to be proud of themselves and embrace their nakedness. It also to emphasize the beauty is not about the material things that we were, but the beauty of us without those. The true beauty is when we accept ourselves, our imperfections, and our failures. That's what I think about the painting of the birth of Venus. Now that we are done on the physical painting or the appearance of the birth of Venus, let's go on the intertextual dialogue that are connected to it. Let's get started with mythology's intertextual dialogue with the painting. So Venus' birth story happened when Uranus' genitals were thrown into the sea. The blood and semen caused the foam to gather and float across the sea. After that, Venus was born as this story was visualized in the painting of Botticelli, having the sea as a background and Venus in her nude figure coming from the shot. Go to the popular literatures where the context of the birth of Venus came from. These are the Ovid's Metamorphoses in 8 AD, Homer's writings, and acknowledged Poliziano's Stanze per Cagliostro in 1478. These literatures intertwines history and mythology together. Researchers also believe that Botticelli was greatly influenced by Poliziano because both works have some sort of involvement with the Medici family members. Now let's look at the sculptural style of Venus Podica, which is a classical female pose that covers the genitalia with one hand and stands asymmetrically. It is the basis for the gestural style of the birth of Venus. There's also another parallel sculpture that has the same features. It is the Aphrodite of Cnidus by Praxiteles of Athens. It also looks like the female counterpart of David's sculpture of Michelangelo. Lastly, the Christian interpretations wherein it was believed that the birth of Venus was influenced by the baptism of Christ. The two Renaissance paintings titled Giotto's The Baptism of Christ in 1305 and Piero della Francesca's painting The Baptism of Christ in 1448 to 1450 showcase the parallelism between the paintings. As we can observe, the center of paintings focuses on one figure, which are Christ and Venus. The angels on the Baptism of Christ were replaced by the wind gods Zephyr and Chloris, while on the right side, John the Baptist was replaced by Hora of Spring. The two are similar because both approach the central figure with the intention of adoring and blessing them. I'm talking about John the Baptist and Hora of Spring. From that, we can understand that artworks from other artists were borrowed to create new artworks with different meanings and themes. Now that we know the intertextual dialogues that influence the birth of Venus, let's look on its impact on the modern world, to our culture, and to the fine art of the present. Let's get started. We all know Lady Gaga is a famous musician, and her album Art Pop was influenced by Botticelli's painting, making its appearance on the cover of her album to emphasize her as Venus, which reflects the enjoyment of aesthetics and beauty. Under that album, the music video of one of her songs named Applause uses seashells and the blonde wig, which are characteristics to represent Venus. One part also shows Lady Gaga at the center with just seashells to cover her body. It looks like the same form of Botticelli's Venus on the painting. Do you know that Botticelli's Venus became a cover girl? Yeah, she is. She became a cover girl in 2 issues of the New Yorker magazine. The first one in May 1992, covered by Susan Davis, where she replaces Zipper's gentle breeze with the hot air of a blow dryer. As natural as Botticelli's Venus is, she became an idealized standard of beauty, an image of perfection, because of her milk skin and blonde hair. On August 2014 issue, the cover created by Ross Cass have the same version of Venus on the top of the shell, but instead of Zephyr and Chloris and Hora of Spring surrounding her, there are a swarm of phone camera lenses, which conveys the technological development that happened through time. Another artwork that has an intertextual dialogue with the said painting. The Venus on the Half Shell in 1978 by Grip Kronk. It is a mural of the 20th century Venus. Instead of no clothes, the woman wears roller skates, shorts, crop tops, and no longer has a blonde hair. Also, instead of standing on the shell, it hovers behind her. Lastly, the painting titled Venus after Botticelli in 2008 by Yin Chen. It was scrapped and only shows the goddess head with long, wavy black locks. And its features are more Asian. It gives a new version of Botticelli's Venus where the combination of Western and Far Eastern elements is evident. It also stresses that our perception and production of an artwork, an artifact, is dependent on our culture. We are about to end the story and close the book of Botticelli's Birth of Venus. I realized a lot of things. Just like the moral lessons at the end of every childhood story, the analysis I have researched made me understand that new artwork was created with inspiration from various past artworks. Aramaic artwork can give different interpretations from the old versions. It gives a new perspective, a new idea of the painting. It also adapts to the present. And lastly, each part of the painting has an equivalent meaning and history. They also look like a puzzle pieces that complete each other and the whole world. So I think that's it. Thank you for watching and I hope you understand more about Botticelli's artwork, The Birth of Venus.